writing songs got it was a default thing, you know. But all of us do some writing, so that I didn't ever felt that bad about it. But for me, it's one of those things like a craft, you know. It's like throwing a pot, you know. It's a craft. There's a certain craft to it. It's not for me. I don't know whether my songwriting rises to the level of art. There's one or two songs I think I've written, and Hunter and I have written, that I think are truly wonderful, and but you know, whether anybody else thinks that, I don't know. And I certainly don't feel like I'm a wonderful songwriter. My output is very small. You know, I mean, I'm not prolific by any means. Hunter's output compared to mine is like, I'd say about 50 to 1. You know, he's like so prolific. But Hunter and I have a wonderful working relationship, so it's always a happy experience writing with him. And that's usually, I don't write unless I write with him. You know, and David is another collaborator. David Grisman is another person I collaborate with comfortably. For me, that's pretty much what I do. I am pretty much a collaborator. I'm pretty much a person who works with other people, not a person who works alone.
Well, the band, the Grateful Dead, is one of the most collaborational musical groups that there is. I mean, I don't know if you...
Collaborationistic. What is that? What? Never mind. What would that word be?
You work so well as a team. You understand each other. Maybe was it partly through the kind of freeform work you did in the '60s that you developed more? You weren't doing songs so much. You're actually making music.
Well, you know what it really has to do with it. The people in the Grateful Dead are pathologically anti-authoritarian. So it's just, you know, I mean, nobody can tell anybody what to do ever under any circumstances. So that produces a certain amount of. Also, if you ask somebody to play something, they'll never play it. So it produces a kind of music by confluence, you know, or by friction, or by opposites, by you know, it's conflicted. And that makes it interesting. It has a great deal of tension, you know, because everybody plays so differently from each other. I mean, it's like nothing on this earth will make me play like Bob, you know. Nothing on this earth will ever make me play like Bob. And I'll be damned if I'm going to play like Phil. You know what I mean? It's like, you know what I mean? It's one of those kind of things. Each one of us experiences some version of that, you know. And it's not even something we consciously do. We just do it. It's like, it's as pure as mother's milk. You know what I mean? It's pure innocence. It's like, there's no premeditation. It's just something that's there. You know, we've never decided it. We don't inspect it. We don't deal with it. It's just there, you know. And I've never once in all the years we played together have I ever been able to predict what Bob will play or what Phil will play in a given situation, or the drummers for that matter, you know. I mean, I just have no idea, you know. I don't have a clue, and it's to me that makes it really interesting. You know what I mean? It's just there's something. The band always has this quality that is totally unpredictable, and there's just no way that you can say what it's going to sound like. I mean, it changes completely, its character completely, you know, from night to night, and you know, it just. I mean, there's just no way to stop it, you know. So it's one of those things. It's not like how did we arrive at it? It's just like how can we escape it? You know, you know.
There aren't many bands that work that way.
I don't know. I don't think so. You know, and our lighting designer works that way too. See, so I mean, the whole show has to work.
What are they gonna do? She said, I don't.
No. Yeah. What happened to the old Knicks then? I like that.
Yeah, Spade. Yeah, Spade.
Mark.
Fireplace.
We may use a clip of I Know You Rider from the old Avalon. Do you have any, what was the history of that song?
The song?
I mean, how did you bring it?
Jesus. Well, it's an old folk song. I mean, it used to be like a standby, really, in the coffee houses and stuff like that. I never performed it as a bluegrass person or as a. I never was a folkie very much, you know. I just wasn't that good, you know. I mostly played in bands with other people. But I always liked that song, no matter who did it, you know. And there was like all kind of these folk versions of it and stuff like that. There were really, I mean, there were really modern versions of it, really. But I always liked the song. So I just, you know, of the ones that I could remember, the arrangements, the versions of it melodically, and as far as this chord structure and so forth, that was the one that I sort of culled from my own memory. I don't remember where I learned it. I don't remember who taught it to me, or why I chose it, except it's just a nice song. And I thought it would be ideal to do with an electric band. I viewed an electric band as really, well, it's strings. You know, still a string band fundamentally, even though it's electric. So that, and the addition of the drums, and that made it sort of more like bluegrass, which is a more intensely rhythmic kind of music. So for me, the elements were there. It was like I viewed the band, the Grateful Dead or the Warlocks or whatever, from the very beginning as like, well, this is a blues band in one sense. In other words, the instrumentation and everything is traditionally what a blues band has had. And in that sense, this is a traditional band. But it's also a kind of mutated, like a bluegrass band on a certain level. I mean, you could approach it. Bluegrass is a nice metaphor for how music can work as a group. In other words, bluegrass is a conversational music. And I thought it'd be nice to have an electric band that was that way. It was conversational, where the instruments talk to each other, you know. And it's a way to organize music. So for me, I know your writer, and the arrangement, particularly the Grateful Dead arrangement that the Grateful Dead uses, has a lot of conversation in it. And the instruments kind of talk to each other. And that was the sense that I thought, that was a model for how a band could work. You know what I mean? And it's extracted from all kinds of things, but that's fundamentally an early model of how a band could work. So, which is my throw out. You know, it's what I threw out to say, okay, how could a five-piece, which we originally were, a five-piece electric band, work? How could it relate? How could the instruments relate to each other? What would their roles be? You know, and so forth. So that was, you know, that was it, with bits and pieces of regular stuff. So, like in blues, one kind of style of blues, the two guitars, like Jimmy Reed, say, two guitar and a harmonica style of blues, the way the instruments work there is there's a conversation between the guitars. One guitar plays low runs, and the other guitar plays little high licks, less frequently. But they stay out of each other's register. They stay out of each other's range, and it's a very pretty sound. And the bass plays, you know, just simple stuff in the bottom, and the harmonica plays like over the top. And there's a sense to it, you know, and it makes it very transparent because the instruments are open. Their discussion is like open, you know, there's a lot of air in there. It's a pretty way to work. So we've sort of patterned the way we work, the way we approach things, kind of extrapolated from that idea. I mean, you have to decide, somewhere along the line, when you're playing, you have to decide, are we all going to play the same, or are we all going to play differently? I mean, the Grateful Dead always had the disease where we played differently, so that's what we had to work with. But luckily, that approach is not totally unknown. I mean, it's a way a lot of musics work that way. Either they work that way because the instrumentation is different, like in a string quartet, or they work that way because the music demands it. You know, like in, say, a mandolin orchestra, you know, where everybody's playing the same instrument, but they're all playing different parts.
Your own guitar style has evolved over the. I mean, you have so much confidence in. I mean, you don't feel like you have to, you know, go berserk in order to make people hear what you're getting across.
Well, I'm hoping to not have to go berserk at all. I mean, I will if the situation really calls for it. But really, my model for playing is based on a psychedelic experience. Also, my model for, like, when I go out on stage, what am I trying to accomplish? Okay, here's the story. There's one time we played. We were playing at the old Fillmore, and it was after Bill Graham wasn't running it anymore. So it was some independent, like a hippies, some hippies, local hippies, rented it for some cause or another or whatever. Anyway, we were playing there. It was but Bill wasn't running it, so it was a little bit strange. And there, like, some weird bands were playing on the same bill with us, like maybe, like at that time, say like the Flaming Groovies or somebody like, you know what I mean? Some of the bands that were happening back in that time, this like the late 60s, or the middle late 60s. So this guy who was like sort of a famous freak that ran around the scene in those days, comes in and he's got this big birthday cake. He's got this huge big birthday cake. You know, I'm looking at it thinking, that thing has got to be dosed. I just know this sucker. I know it's dosed. You know. I'm looking at it and looking at it, looking at it. I'm thinking, yeah, that's right. Sure, it's done. And then I said, but it looks good. You know, it was beautiful, this beautiful big. You know, so I thought, well, I'll just take a little of the frosting here. You know, just you know, I'll just take a little snack. So I took this, and then somebody comes in and says, yeah, we put about 800 hits of acid in that frosting, you know, and I go, oh God, you know, oh, Jesus Christ, I'm going to be totally fucking wiped out with this, you know. And by this time, I didn't really enjoy playing, you know, under the influence of psychedelics, because I didn't have the freedom to quit if I wanted to. It wasn't really that much fun to play when you don't have the option, you know, when you don't have options. So I mean, it wasn't something I was looking forward to. And so I'm sitting there and I'm waiting to play, and we're going later. It gets getting later and later and later, and I'm coming on. Now I'm going on. I hear, the place is swimming, and I start to hear overhear people, you know, and I'm going off in this paranoid space. And I'm thinking, God, this place is full of mafia guys, and they're all trying to kill me, you know. I got that notion in my head, you know. This guy comes in. He looks exactly like a mafia guy. You know, he says, "Here, you want something to drink?" And I look at it, poison. You know, no thanks. You know, it's like everybody is armed to the teeth. They're all trying to kill me. Okay, so I'm waiting there to go on. Oh shit, this is it. This is my last night on Earth. You know, I'm convinced of this now. You know, still in this psychedelic roar. You know. And so we're going out on stage, you know, to go play, and I'm going out there and I'm thinking, oh God, you know, Jesus, what have I done to deserve this? You know, I'm going to go out there and play, and they're going to fucking kill me, you know. You know. So I got it. And the only thing I could think of to do was I said, okay, I'm just going to play for my life. I'm going to play for my life. That's what I'm going to do, you know. And so I played for my life, and they let me live. Ever since then, you know, I mean, you know, ever since then I thought that works, you know, for me, is to play for my life. You know, so, you know, you know, when I forget what I'm doing or why I'm doing it, I play for my life.
What comment you have on some of the newer music, you know, funk and rap, that kind of thing?
Well, rap is not music, for one thing. I mean, it isn't music, you know, it's talking. That's what it says, rap. Rap means talking. It's not music. It's talking in meter. It's got rhyme, and it has meter. It has rhythm. It's not music. You know, it's okay. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. I have no problem with it. It just isn't music, you know. And people who get to be great at rap are not great musicians. They're just great at rap. You know, it's not. There's no road from rapping into music. You know what I mean? You know, and music is something that you can get better and better and better at. I don't know if you can do that with rap. You know, I don't know whether it has that kind of space in it, or that kind of leads off into infinite numbers of possibilities. Music does. Rap, I don't know whether it does. Rap also has the problem of this language specific. So, you know, if you don't understand English, you know, rap is, I mean, you know, it doesn't communicate except that it sounds neat. As far as the new music goes, there isn't a whole lot in the way of new music. There's some stuff which is very derivative. You know what I mean? It's like people who are copying people who copied Robert Johnson. Say, you know what I mean? It's far removed, and it's derivative. It's removed enough from the original source that the people who are playing it don't actually know where it came from. And it's like everything else. It's a way station. Anybody who's young and playing is gonna they're gonna get better or they're gonna quit playing. You know, they're probably not gonna get worse. You know, so that means that somebody is on the ride. You know, somebody's decided to get on the music ride, and I look forward to seeing them improve. You know, with age, if they have anything going for them at all. Otherwise, you know, I don't know. But the level of expertise that's available now to any young musician is, wow, it's incredible. They can all play. I mean, technically speaking, most instruments have enjoyed an incredible increase in technical skill. And that skill, that virtuosity is available to everybody. In the old days, forget it. You know, you just, you know, I mean, if you're going to get good, you pretty much had to teach yourself, past beyond a certain point. Now that these instruments have, you know, there are whole new levels of playing ability, which have made it more. Well, now it's got the thing that everything else has, which is dividing the technique from from the substance. You know what I mean? It's like it suffers in a way from technique. Music does, because technique, you can get caught up in it and lose the substance. For me, music is a emotional. It's emotional in nature. It communicates emotionally. That's one of the things it does really well. And I think that if that isn't the sense of what you're doing, then I don't know what it is.
Okay. Roll out.
Thank you.
Oh,
Can I shut up?
Yeah.
Do I have to keep talking?
All right, cut it.